Is the Apple Vision Pro worth $3,500? That's $3,000 more than the Meta Quest 3. Did they meet that standard? What do you think, Vineet?
Man, my honest opinion is
Yeah.
that they did not. I think that
Okay.
there's nothing they do. I mean, except for one thing that I can think of, which is the eye tracking. Um,
Uh-huh.
Other than that, I don't think they do anything that the Quest 3 doesn't or the Quest 2 doesn't for a much lower price point. It doesn't solve a lot of problems that I think VR has of nausea and lightheadedness and, just human issues. It doesn't really solve it. Same form factor. I was really hoping for a different form factor. I thought it would be much
Uh,
lighter. So that was my whole thing. So from that perspective, I think that they dropped the ball. Um, but yeah.
for me, I'm kind of leaning toward the opposite end. I think the standards were set high, and they got pretty close to meeting them. A lot of
Okay.
it's like when I watched it, I said to myself, you know what?
I think the first thing we got to talk about is the 3D camera.
Actually possible that it is a real 3D camera because see, it has a lidar sensor.
Mm,
So if you combine it, and it has two stereo cameras, and like two normal cameras, one on the left and one on the right.
right.
And if you combine that for stereoscopic view plus the lidar, I think it can do like a kind of like a the contours. It can show the contours, and
Yes.
when you do it when you look at it from the side, I think there will be a shape, although not completely 3D. Like you won't see the back of their heads or anything like that.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but I
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. The thing is, make this already exists there are a lot of apps that let you take a photo and then using the iOS LiDAR gives you that sort of tilt 3D thing. But these apps don't really do well. And the reason is because people have no interest in it. And my point being that this experience has existed, but it has not caught on with people because it's not very intriguing to people to view it that way. The other thing that they talked about, which I thought, all devices can do is sort of the TV viewing experience. Did you see anything interesting in that stuff? But I think that stuff already has
no,
existed for a while.
well, as we both know, VR headsets are capable of this. Like Quest
Yeah.
1 could do it. Even other older headsets could do it.
Oculus could have done
You
it,
know,
yeah.
like virtual display. For the few people who are watching this who have never seen it, FYI, this is different from just like, getting like an LCD glasses that, show you a display, and the display doesn't change no matter where you look, it doesn't change. It's not like that. This one, you'll actually see a virtual display. It's as
Yeah.
if the screen in the VR in the room in that you're looking at VR, and then with the reality, I'm sorry, with the Vision Pro's pass through display, it will look like it's in your room. Now, the part that so that one is nothing new in the sense that Varho could do it. Like the Quest 3 will be able to do it. Anything with the color pass through could.
Yeah.
I mean, Meta Quest Pro theoretically. I believe it can do something close to that. So now, what's kind of new here is the resolution of the display.
Yes.
They're
4K.
saying 4K per lens, and this is the thing where I'm not super impressed because throughout the presentation, Apple kept saying, "You'll see a 4K display. You'll see a 4K display. It's like a 4K TV. It's like a 4K monitor." So, and they, I heard that, and I would think, oh, so that virtual screen will be just as clear as a 4K TV of that size in real life, and
Okay.
I don't think so, because for that to happen, the display has to have a resolution of 16K,
Yeah.
or something like Varho XR3, where the middle part of the display has an extra high density, super high resolution micro OLED. I don't think it's going to be even a higher resolution than the Varho XR3. So I don't think it is actually, although it's true that each lens by itself, like, hey, you grab that, yeah, that is more than 4K, but doesn't mean that the display that you see in the virtual, in your virtual vision will look like just as clear as a 4K TV. I don't think that's true. So yeah,
Yeah.
you try.
This 4K, 8K, 16K, that's all very shady. No one's like really looking at these things that cleanly, I would say. I think that
Yeah.
I thought I won't say interesting, but a hit or a miss is the fact that it's not fully untethered. It still has a little bit of a wire I'm not so sold on it. I feel like a VR device ideally should have no wires. I feel like it should just be full range of movement. You know, that that's just my feeling of a good VR device.
Yeah, I agree that being wireless is a big deal.
It's a
In the
big
sense
deal.
that
It's a big deal.
like having like an Oculus Rift S that my Oculus Rift S had a cable, and although it was a higher resolution display, I preferred using my Quest.
Yeah.
So because it was totally wireless, and that having just no tether, just makes it feel much more
More
immersive.
natural. Yeah, and also
Yeah,
much more natural. Like having something like kind of like taking a because the idea is you have to sort of like forget that you're in a virtual environment. But then when you're kind of tethered to something, it doesn't really feel that. So I feel like that's kind of
so
something that I was not very impressed with.
even if it does require this thing that you clip it onto your belt or something, um, at least it doesn't obstruct your movement. Like if I were had a game and I was like turning around or whatever, I'm not gonna get tangled up. It's not like PSVR 2 where there's a cable there. If you keep turning, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna wrap around you. This one, because the cable is tied to your belt, or to a device that you're wearing, then it's not going to entangle you. So I think it's not a fatal flaw.
But I mean, I'm just
Uh-huh.
we are comparing it to the price point, and we're comparing it to what's in the market, right? In
Yeah.
the market, we have Quest
Yes.
3, which doesn't have a tether, which has a very good battery
Right.
life, and which is one sixth the price, and you're comparing it to something. So I think that's where we are trying to draw the comparisons rather than like, oh, if this was what they had shown us like 4 years back, I would be like, wow, this is amazing. But at this
Yeah.
point, you know, Facebook has shown us something that's much better. Yeah. And so that's my point with the whole thing is like, I'm extremely happy they launched their device. Extremely happy. I'm in this space. The
Yeah.
more devices we get, the more Apple gets into it, the better we can pitch
Yeah.
to our customers. So I'm very happy about it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also concerned that if Apple cannot do it, then this market is going to tank in 3 years. Like they'll be like, if Apple cannot produce a hit, nobody can
You
produce a
think?
hit. Yes. So it's now in this stage where, because we were always waiting for Apple. We're like, Apple's going to figure it out. Apple's going to figure it out. Like Apple's going to get AR, VR in mainstream. Apple's got all the technology. All of this is true. But then if Apple cannot do it, then you're screwed. So
Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of people who are watching this are going to say, this looks pretty cool, but I don't have 3,500. But you know what? I do have $500. I do have $500. I'm going to get the Quest 3. So I think Apple's presentation is going to increase the sales for the Quest 3.
I agree. I agree on that. I think that what Apple's going to do,
So
yeah.
yeah, so even if Vision Pro never takes off, I think Meta Quest 3 might,
No, that
because
that is possible, but it still doesn't solve the inherent problems of VR. Like the thing that I liked what Vision Pro did was they had the eyes. The eyes is huge,
that
right?
was so cool. I
That was cool.
think.
That's really cool. That's really like game changing in terms of just using a VR set in a human context, right? The idea that it is completely see through from day one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Super awesome. That's a great thing.
In fact, before, like when I was watching the Quest 3 launch or announcement, I was thinking about that. Like, you can't walk around with that. It looks stupid. Like, could they put at least googly eyes or something? So
Yeah,
this one is like way better than that.
way better,
It's
way
not
better.
a display, but it's actually they said they're using a lenticular display to make it look like it's from a proper perspective. I mean, like, oh dang, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So there are some cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some cool stuff. I'm not taking away
Yeah.
from what Apple's done, but my concern is that their demos are not that impressive, and if
Mm.
the demos are not impressive, and the device is coming in a year, uh, I'm a little concerned about the reception in a year. I would not be surprised if they delayed further. They can blame China, or they can say, oh, parts were not available, too much demand, some bullshit they'll come up with. So I wouldn't be surprised if they push it
Uh,
further. Just given the demo, I just don't see anything that they showed me that is a VR device.
Microsoft Word XR, Excel XR. If it's all like that, I mean, that's it. Bye. This is
Well,
not going to take off.
that's what it's gonna be. I think that's what I think that their whole focus is. Like they really showed, oh, you can have all these screens where you can do office work and like honestly, man, like come on, like you want to play some games. But that's where I think the Quest is gonna kill it. If you're listening to this topic, I mean this video, I recommend going buying some Meta Quest stock because I think that after this. the Meta is
And
going to sell, and they're going to have market like dominance. If
yeah,
Apple in a
I'm releasing information about the Quest 3 a few days before this. That was a brilliant move.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I thought that what would have been, I think they didn't know what was coming, and they thought that it would be a much better price
I
point.
thought
And
some insider who leaked the info.
because think about it, right? If you are a product, like, wouldn't you have released after this? If you knew how shitty their product was, you could just release after it and say, "Oh, this for $3,500, like, isn't that a better strategy than before?" Because now everyone's going to be talking about Apple, right?
Here's the thing: if we didn't see the Quest 3, you didn't see the Quest 3, you didn't know about the pass through, you saw this, it will look much more amazing.
Right, right, right. You're right. Right, that makes sense.
But now that you've seen the Quest 3 and then you see this, it's like, isn't that like just the Quest 3?
Fair enough. Makes sense. Your final thoughts uh,
Oh,
on
I think I'm cautiously optimistic. See, the other thing is they call this the Vision Pro. And I don't know if that means that it's because they intend to release a lower cost model in the future that's more mass market, and that would be like a
Vision Plus.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like more affordable. But I'm I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. My final thoughts, I think Apple kind of rushed it. I think that internally they've been working on this for a while, and I think Tim Cook in the end was like, we just got to push it out and see what happens. A lot of the demos didn't really strike me as interesting or innovative. They've done everything that Apple does: great marketing, great price point to add to that premium layer. They're going to get the initial Apple enthusiasts, VR enthusiasts excited, sell some devices. But in the end, I think VR and AR is a lot about software and hardware together. And I didn't see that today. So I feel like it's great for me as a businessman in this space. But I think overall for the space, not so good. That's my part. All right. Thanks for joining us.
In a
Yeah.
year or so.
No, yeah, in a year we'll find out. Thanks a lot, Mick. And hopefully we will have another of these metaverse videos soon. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
And